watching Thursday edition of News Mongolia. Today is September 15th. For our top stories, President Khurelsukh meets with the President of Uzbekistan. The opportunity to try 5G is now available in Mongolia. S.Chingim becomes the 2022 Mind Sports Olympics national champion. For the news, stay tuned. On Thursday, September 14th, President Khurelsukh held an official meeting with the President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev.
The two sides emphasized the historical and cultural bond between the two countries and the enormous potential for collaboration in many different fields, especially as both countries are landlocked. President Khurelsukh invited President Mirziyoyev to visit Mongolia. Both sides agreed on the importance of holding large-scale official meetings in the future to take relations to a new level. They also emphasized the importance of opening diplomatic councils in the near future.
New 5G technology shows a promising future for helping people stay connected over long distances and has many other useful applications.
The next generation of mobile networking is now available for trial in Mongolia. The speed and capacity of 5G are currently being tested. In the future, 5G will be used in everyday life and people will be able to connect to several devices simultaneously and exchange data with minimal packet loss. Doctors will be able to provide services remotely, more automated vehicles and machines will be safely controlled, and people can stay connected to their household electronics. In Ulaanbaatar, Teddy Digitals is encouraging people to try out this new technology.
The 2022 Mind Sports Olympics were held from August 15th through 18th. Of the 260 awards presented, Yatsor School took home 36. In this report, we will meet S.Chingim, the national champion in mental calculations.
S.Chingim began practicing mind sports at an early age. He participated in his first national Mind Sport Olympics last year, where he placed third in Rubik's Cubes and mental calculations. At Yatsor School's 2021 competition, he placed third in the same categories. At the 2022 Mind Sport Olympics, he became the national champion in the mental calculation category.
My name is S.Chingim, and I go to Yatsor School. I started practicing when I was 3 years old. I solve Rubik's Cubes, calculate 10-digit numbers, and practice Flash Anzan. In Flash Anzan, the time you have been given decreases and the numbers to calculate increase. You have to be quick.
In this year's Mind Sports Olympics, students competed in 5 categories: memory, mental calculations, speed stacks, Rubik's Cube, and Keymaster.
My teachers teach me how to solve problems with 10-digit numbers, how to quickly calculate during Flash Anzan, and how to solve Rubik's Cubes quickly. The problems have many numbers, and we divide them into double digits. My favorite subject is mathematics. I want to become an astronaut.
Mind sport positively affects brain activity and improves a child's IQ. It keeps students motivated during the day and helps them develop a positive attitude towards education.
The Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Development Fund supports private businesses through subsidized loans. Fund administrators have finished evaluating prospective projects in 20 provinces. In Ulaanbaatar, they are conducting on-site visits to review the business activities of loan applicants. This small manufacturer produces flavored cream. They started 2 years ago with only 2 people and are now an enterprise with 18 workers producing 9 varieties of cream. They get their raw material from a clotted cream factory. They produce 100 kilograms of cream a day and 2.5 tons monthly. The factory owners applied for a 200 million tugruk subsidized loan to expand their business. They plan to get cutting-edge equipment, create 10 more jobs, and expand their product line.
The number one challenge we face when making new products is getting the right equipment. We want automated equipment that makes work easier and increase productivity, and we need sufficient financing for that. Only 10% of 1 ton of milk becomes clotted cream. 20 to 30% of it turns into curd. The remaining 50 to 60% is whey and just thrown away. Our company's next goal is to use this way to create new products.
Pink Lemon was one of the first enterprises visited by representatives of the SME Development Fund. They were also able to share their feedback with fund representatives.
We finished evaluating project applications from 20 provinces. Now around 80 projects from Ulaanbaatar in Two province will be evaluated in September. This will conclude the third stage of our selection process. In early October, our final project selection meeting will be held. The subsidized loan financing is scheduled to reach business owners in November.
The SME Development Fund says it plans to focus more on food enterprises in the coming years. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Farmers in Hof province report that this year's harvest is 65% complete. A harvest festival was held in the province, along with a watermelon festival.
Hof province is home to around 3,200 farmers. This year, around 3,150 hectares were used for farming. Around 500 hectares were used for planting watermelons, and over 6,000 tons were harvested this year. The biggest watermelon in the province was 15.5 kilograms. Hof province is famous for its watermelons. This was the second annual Watermelon Festival, which is held to promote tourism in the province. Watermelon was showcased in the form of cake, candy, and side dishes.
The Watermelon Festival holds the promise of being a tourist attraction. Gastronomy based on watermelon can also be developed here.
One artist even presented carved watermelons.
Our teachers knew carving a portrait wasn't going to be easy. After some discussion, we managed to carve a portrait of national wrestling champion Hanga. We created 8 carvings for the festival.
Over 100 farmers participated in the Watermelon Festival. They showed festival visitors how watermelon can be used to make juice, jelly, ice cream, and cake. Awards were presented for the biggest watermelon, the best watermelon carving, and the farmer who produced the highest number of watermelon varieties.
What started as a family farm has now grown into an agriculture business. Ochirchao and his wife want to improve Mongolian vegetable consumption by growing vegetables in Mongolia that are usually imported.
Ochirchao and Sirenhand live in Songenherchen district and were married in 2003. At the suggestion of Ochirchao's sister-in-law, in 2012 they started growing vegetables that are usually imported to enrich the diversity of Mongolia's vegetable production.
We started farming in 2012. Before that, I used to work at Bars Market. I always had the problem of not having enough vegetables, and most of them were imported from China. I wanted to be able to grow these vegetables on my own, in my home country, so we bought some land and started our business 10 years ago.
When they started to grow vegetables, they realized they needed more cultivation knowledge. Ochirchao is now studying agriculture at the University of Life Sciences. In the past, we had to hand water all the plants. Now, we have an automatic watering system that helps with the workload. The business they started in 2012 has grown to around 40 greenhouses covering 1 hectare.
Seeing people consume my products brings me a lot of joy. It makes me want to do more for people and give them organic products produced without chemicals. But farming is a lot of exhausting, hard work.
They currently have 13 employees. In 2020, they received a loan of 90 million tugruk from the Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Development Fund, which helped their farming business grow substantially. Ochirchao is harvesting their 5th crop this year. Farming and harvesting are going smoothly, but distribution is a bit difficult. Finding a good way to distribute our crops to people is currently our top priority. They bought around 10 hectares of farmland near Hui Datlan Hotok, which they want to customize to grow vegetables during winter. Thanks to a support program funded by the government of South Korea, they were able to plant 5 different varieties of tomatoes this year. Currently, they have distribution chains at large wholesale markets, but they want to open their own produce shop in the future.
Here comes the international news from our partner agencies. Mourners continued streaming through Westminster Hall on Wednesday evening to pay their respects to Queen Elizabeth II.
The late monarch's coffin left Buckingham Palace for the last time earlier in the day. Borne on a horse-drawn carriage and saluted by cannons and the tolling of Big Ben, in a solemn procession through the flag-draped, crowd-lined streets of London to Westminster Hall. There, Britain's longest-serving monarch will lie in state for 4 days until her funeral Monday, with hundreds of thousands of people expected to file past. Shortly after 5 p.m., the first members of the public were allowed to file past the coffin. They moved in 2 lines, one on either side of the coffin. Many were in tears as they approached the casket. The coffin was draped in the royal standard and topped with the imperial state crown, encrusted with almost 3,000 diamonds and a bouquet of flowers and plants, including pine from the Balmoral estate, where Elizabeth died on September 8th at the age of 96.
U.S. President Joe Biden announced approval of the first $900 million in infrastructure money to build EV chargers across 53,000 miles of the national highway system in 35 states.
President Joe Biden showcased his administration's effort to promote electric vehicles during a visit Wednesday to the Detroit Auto Show. Biden's 2021 infrastructure legislation provides $5 billion over 5 years to help states create a network of EV charging stations.
I signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. It gives tax credits to new electric vehicles, fuel cell vehicles, made in America. And for the first time, you get a tax credit if you buy a used electric vehicle. That's all coming. And part of the infrastructure law, we're investing $7.5 billion to build electric vehicle charging stations all across America. So today, I'm pleased to announce we're approving funding for the first 35 states, including Michigan, to build their own electric charging infrastructure throughout their state.
Biden traveled to the massive North American International Auto Show to plug the huge new climate, tax, and healthcare law that offers tax incentives for buying electric vehicles. He toured a mix of American-manufactured hybrid, electric, and combustion vehicles from Chevrolet, General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis on a closed-off convention center floor and greeted union workers, CEOs, and local leaders. The president credited the United Auto Workers and other unions with supporting him in his 2020 bid for the White House. He highlighted how his administration has worked to promote union contracts for big projects, calling union workers the most skilled in the nation. Under the new law, electric vehicles must be built in North America to be eligible for a federal tax credit for up to $7,500. Batteries for qualifying vehicles also must be made in North America, and there are requirements for battery minerals to be produced or recycled on the continent. The credits are aimed to create a U.S. electric vehicle supply chain and ending dependence on other countries, mainly China. Passage of the measure set off a scramble by automakers to speed up efforts to find North American-made batteries and battery minerals from the U.S., Canada, or Mexico to make sure EVs are eligible for the credit. In April, Ford started building electric pickup trucks at a new Michigan factory. General Motors has revamped an older factory in Detroit to make electric Hummers and pickups. Long before legislators reached a compromise on the legislation, each company announced 3 EV battery factories, all joint ventures with battery makers. A GM battery plant in Warren, Ohio, has already started manufacturing. A government loan announced in July will help GM build its battery factories.
A right-wing bloc that includes a nationalist anti-immigration party won a narrow majority in Sweden's parliament on Wednesday. Center-left Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson announced she will step down on Thursday.
It was a major political shift in the Scandinavian country that had a decades-long history of welcoming refugees, but is grappling with a crime wave linked with immigration. Center-left Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson conceded defeat with 99.9% of the votes from the weekend election counted on Wednesday. She said she would step down on Thursday.
We knew all the way that this would be most opinion polls showed us that there would be a close race in the election. So I was not surprised that it went this way rather than the other way. I knew that could happen. But of course, I'm concerned with how the development in Sweden will be in the coming years.
Populist Sweden Democrats leader Jimmy Åkesson declared victory for the 4-party bloc. He said his party would be a constructive and driving force in the work of rebuilding safety in Sweden. The bloc that includes the Sweden Democrats, the country's second largest party, won a thin majority in parliament. Though a few votes were outstanding, they were not enough to sway the final outcome. Andersson became Sweden's first female prime minister last year and led the country in its historic bid to join NATO following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. While Andersson is personally popular, anxiety in Sweden has grown over high crime rates in segregated districts that are home to large numbers of immigrants who have failed to integrate into Swedish society. Some blame her Social Democrats who have been in power for 8 years.
Well, most opinion polls showed us that there would be
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Japan's Yui Sasaki, United States' Dominique Olivia Parrish, and Turkey's Yasemin Adar all won gold in their respective weight classifications of the women's competition during Day 5 at the World Wrestling Championships in Belgrade, Serbia on Tuesday.
Say from a personal standpoint,
Phoenix Suns owner Robert Sarver was likely spared even stronger sanctioning by the NBA for his racist, misogynistic, and hostile words and actions because of one key conclusion by investigators, Commissioner Adam Silver said Wednesday. The law firm that spent nearly a year digging into the situation determined Sarver's use of slurs was not motivated by racial animus. Had that not been the case, Silver indicated Sarver's punishment, a 1-year suspension and $10 million fine, would have been far more severe. It was relevant, Silver said after the league's Board of Governors meetings concluded, and that to Silver is one of the key distinctions between the Sarver case and the one surrounding then Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling in 2014, when he was banned for life and fined $2.5 million for racist comments. Some players, Silver said, have reached out to him to voice concerns. Silver said he would keep the details of those conversations private. But LeBron James, obviously one of the league's most prominent player voices ever, took his concerns public Wednesday night, tweeting that the NBA did not go far enough with Sarver. Chicago Cubs outfielder Seiya Suzuki was hit the left hand in the ninth by New York Mets pitcher Michael Givens on Wednesday and stayed in the game after being checked out by medical staff. The Japanese went 1-for-3 with a single, a walk, and a run scored in the first inning. The Cubs went on to beat the Mets 6-3 to complete a 3-game sweep. Here comes the weather forecast for the world's major cities. This is it for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.